Chris Level of Locked On Texas Tech. They've done it again. 2027 5-star LaDainian Guyton commits to Texas Tech. Benedictine Christian, right in my backyard here in Savannah, Georgia. The Red Raiders, not just in the transfer portal, number one class in the country per some outlets, but now also in the high school ranks. Is it the NIL? Is it the momentum? I mean, again, you said it earlier. This is a team that lost the Liberty Bowl to Arkansas last year. It's not like the results on the field have been elite necessarily, but they look to be with guys like this in the door.
I think the way that when the rules changed and NIL and now you got rev share and all that, I think Texas Tech, the blanket aspect here is that they have viewed college athletics as changing to a talent acquisition business.
Yeah.
And so they have tried to take advantage of every loophole or advantage that they could have with using money, or now they've because how they get Guyton, first of all, they recruited his quarterback. Stephen Cannon has been committed to Texas Tech. He is a year older than Guyton, classified a year different. So they get Guyton on campus, and then I kept hearing like, man, I think this is likely. But what they've done is, and every school could be doing this, but they were like, okay, the NFL pays offensive tackles and edge rushers more than every other position other than quarterback. Yes, receivers get paid and all that, but we have a hard time getting these big people. We can go get a QB, we can get good receivers, which they have. But we have a hard time getting the real quality big people on the edge. And so they have decided with Felix Ojo, who was on around July the 4th, and now LaDainian Guyton, let's guarantee them a pretty significant number when it comes to rev share, and then let's give them a third year. And like with Ojo, Texas and Ohio State, they didn't want to guarantee the third year. Georgia right now doesn't really want to get involved paying this much to a true freshman because they've got so many other upperclassmen. It's kind of the curse and the blessing that they're the top end of the roster is so good. They didn't want to. They don't want to, earmark enough of these funds right now to go to a guy that hasn't been proven. It's a gamble, but if you're Ojo, if you're Guyton, it's 3 years at a really good number, and Texas Tech can then say, we have got these two positions with two of the best in the country on lockdown. So, I'm not saying it's right, but this is how they felt like this is where we could have a bit of an advantage. And so they're swinging.
Couple things. This feels a bit like an experiment
yeah,
where Miami is going for the 5-star quarterback out of the transfer portal, and Georgia is going to go poach the best guy from Western Kentucky. And even a TCU or a Baylor, you're seeing them still attack the transfer portal. Go, they'll pick up the 3-star, the 4-star from Franklin, but they're particularly looking at the guy who didn't work out at Arkansas to add to the roster and play at a TCU or Baylor. Texas Tech's putting a lot of eggs in a basket that most universities, like you said, they won't venture into. Alabama doesn't need to sign 20 of the top 100 kids out of high school when they can get a third-year guy from Western Kentucky who's ready to go today, and they understand already he can function in our system and in college football. We don't know yet, but I wonder if the risk is worth it.
So here's the rationale. First of all, I do think Texas Tech will still dabble in the portal because their recruiting, their portal class is large in part 100% third or fourth year guys that have been very productive everywhere they've been. This is why they were taken. They didn't go bring in potential. Okay. But now that the rules have changed a bit, there's maybe not going to be quite as much movement in the portal. There will be some. Everybody, the money, you can't just throw it around like you were. So they're trying to take it. And I asked somebody this question. I'm like, okay, the risk here, it may cause your overall team not to be quite as deep because you've allocated so much money to a few players and positions here. But what happens? I mean, 5-stars bust all the time. I mean, this is normal. What happens if you swing and miss here and you're kind of stuck? And the answer I got back was, look, everybody in the country offered these two guys. We've evaluated, we've looked at everything we possibly could. I'm willing to put my head on the pillow and sleep well at night if one of them doesn't work out, because like what this was a risk to us worth taking. And I think they view it as, even if they're a bust or not as good as what everybody would have thought, their floor is still pretty high. However, I think that they choose to view it like, what if we did go get the next this or the next that? Like, I mean, and now we've elevated the league, we've elevated our position in the league, and we've got elite, left tackle and elite edge rusher. Like, look out. Other folks in the league won't have anything close to that. So I think they felt it was a risk worth taking.
Why now? Texas Tech, NIL's been a thing. We've been around here for 4 or 5 years in this NIL era, and the oil still, it wasn't just discovered yesterday. Why 2025 for the fan base, the donors, the coaching staff, the university, whoever, to finally get on board?
It's funny you asked that, because like Texas Tech with the first year of NIL, like the year or two prior to last December, I think they spent less than $1 million in total and brought in 12 players or something. And I think they realized midway through, like, boy, had they screwed up.
Yeah.
Like, and so I think it just took a bit to realize this is the way this is going to go. And I think it took some of your money folks to go, we've got to get ahead of this. We're a bit behind right now. And it was last July, August-ish, before last season, when they really started trying to formulate a plan for the upcoming December. Because I think even then they realized, okay, this is the way the rules are. Yeah. But you're right. The folks that have donated to this project, and there's been Cody gets he's clearly coordinated it all, but there's 6 or 7 people that have donated 7 figures plus to the cause. And I think it took Cody to kind of also coordinate and organize. But then last year they got so close to the Big 12 title game. This is motivated money is what it is. You haven't been in Arlington. To be frank, I think some around here would tell you that's embarrassing. Like, everybody has been, to play for it or won it, and you haven't even been invited to the party. And I think you're trying to. So there was a slow build there, but I think Joey is a connector. I think that's been part of it too, this steady incline and all that. And I think so. These people went to Joey. It wasn't the other way around. What do you need? Okay, so if we give you this, what kind of, what can we just expect to get back? And then it just kind of kept, and now here we are. Because I think that originally it was, let's add 8 to 10 guys this past December. It ended up at 22, and then David Bailey, maybe the highest profile one, was like 23rd, and that was in March. But it's like they just kept going.
I loved him when he was at Baylor. I think he is the perfect fit for Texas Tech, the Big 12, old ball coach, the high school gritty ball coach. Why? When Ryan Day, who's not the old ball coach, wins a national championship with the Corvette of rosters, why is the trust in Joey McGuire to be that still not just old ball coach, but also GM type to handle this amount of money and this amount of pressure?
Yeah, I mean that's fair, and I don't. That's why I'm very careful to make sure I explain. It was donors going to Joey and James Blanchard and the people saying, what do you need? These folks were motivated, and then they're like, they stayed motivated. Joey feels this pressure. I think he wants to be at a place where there's some expectations, not maybe you go to a bowl game and all that. He's got the most, him or Baron Morton have the most pressure of anybody in Lubbock, Texas this year. Yeah. That's just the way it works. It comes with the title, the paycheck, the position that you play. And right, wrong, or indifferent, one or both of those guys will be blamed for a lot of what goes on here if you don't get to where you want to go. He gets it. And did you go for it on 4th down too many times or not enough? Did you hire the wrong coordinator this year? I mean, whatever. People will come up with. We know that, but he handles it. He's a perfect modern day college football coach. Slow. Some have been slow to adapt. I mean, they were talking about NFL type salary caps 2 years ago around here, and we're trying to stay ahead and maybe a little slow on the NIL game, but they now have jumped to the forefront in some instances. But he's just a connector. I don't know any other way to explain it. He's a perfect, hype man versus juice guy versus culture guy. And he's the same to the $1 billion donor that he is to the janitor and in the football complex. And it doesn't matter what time of day you get him. And he's unique there, but he's having to, put all these teams together like all these guys are quickly. And I think he's perfectly suited for it. Like the high school coach, that you're having to, you're losing a bunch of guys and all those things. So I don't know if I've answered ultimately what you were asking, but that's the best way I can answer it, and where I'm coming from here and know him and know all the people that he's dealing with here that made all this happen.
It is. I love it and hate it. I love that it's Joey McGuire. I hate that you put that amount of pressure because of the price tag on a guy like that. I mean, 10 years ago, he gets to be Willie Fritz. He gets to just coach and just be a really good coach. Now it becomes a lot tougher if it's Joey McGuire was the best coach in the Big 12, wasn't the best GM in the Big 12, and that's why it doesn't work. That's where I get frustrated with where we've gone with college football. Coming up, BYU and Texas Tech. This is it. This is what we wanted at Big 12 Media Days. When Brett Yormark asks for brands, we've got them. This is Locked On Big 12, Locked On Texas Tech.